Hey Pisces, we are back on the hero's journey, and you're the first stop at the ordinary world, and we're checking out the Eight of Cups for your reading tonight. So we're going to work our way through the stages of the hero's journey again, but looking at complexes through the minor arcana. And I mean, it is the Pisces reading, so I've got the Catacorn Tarot out here. I felt like that had enough whimsy for Pisces. And so the Eight of Cups, and that generally represents leaving a situation, but in terms of complexes, this would be like self-sabotage that we're looking at. In staying at a situation too long, this could even be acting seemingly impulsively to get out of a situation that isn't in tune with your authentic self. So let's get some cards, let's get into it, and we'll jibber jabber about Carl Jung. His complexes, I mean, that was one of his big breakthroughs in the field of psychology, and that was in is it on the psychology and pathology of so-called occult phenomena. We have the Star in reverse. So I am going to lean into that second example that I gave of you might be in a situation that is like smothering your authentic self. You know, we're talking about Pisces here, and so that could be smothering your creativity. You could be in a situation, as many of us are, you know, you had to look past those dreams of childhood and choose labor instead, you know, just to survive in this economy as it gets tougher and tougher every year to do that with wages and all that. But this could also be maybe an unwillingness to accept how things currently are. Because if you want to change your situation, the first step, I feel, is radical acceptance of just looking at things for how they are. And, you know, do hold space and make space for your feelings, for how that's affecting you. But in order to get into that problem solving mode, which can be a challenge for Pisces, but Eight of Cups, we're talking about Saturn in Pisces. So applying some discipline to, well, if this isn't working for me, if this isn't honoring my authentic self, what do I do? Let's see. What do you think, Kitten? What do you think we should do? The Hermit, introspection, finding the light within. And that's interesting because the Hermit and the Star, you can think of the star as being the light within that lantern, that inner light. So a reflective journey, just figuring out what about the ordinary world isn't working for us. And, you know, in terms of the hero's journey, the ordinary world is not a remarkable stage. It's just kind of where you're getting dumped into the storyline, figuring out what's going on. And that, I think, is where the Pisces archetype starts to become a little bit restless before the call to adventure, which would be the next stage. It's just kind of looking around and going, man, I don't fit in here. Doesn't necessarily mean I don't fit in anywhere. It's just what's going on right now isn't awesome. Hi, kitten. So what is this context? Or can we clarify these two? going to take both. Yes, kitten, I'm taking both. So we've got the 8 of Pentacles and the 10 of Pentacles. Okay. Mastery towards your ultimate happiness and material happiness. And that doesn't necessarily need to be finances, although you can't subsist on fresh air. If you figure out how, let me know. But that could be health. You know, if you've been struggling potentially with, you know, an environment that you don't fit in, that can really negatively impact your health. And it's not saying to modify, like change yourself to fit in that environment. It might be looking elsewhere. And from the outside, people might see this as self-sabotage because maybe you're leaving behind something stable, be it a work environment, a relationship, whatever the context may be. People will project their expectations of like, well, if you put yourself into this formula, it's supposed to like spit out a happy life. But if that doesn't work for you, then that doesn't work for you. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's get a little more granular. Yeah. Why do you wait? Why do you wait till I start talking? And this is the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. It's like a horary astrology deck. Harmony. Sun in Libra, which I think is what we're in right now. We're not quite to Scorpio season yet. So very synchronous. The timing. Something about maybe where you are in the healing or the individuation journey, that you've reached a point where that call for adventure can come in. Maybe you are so fed up with the stagnancy. Maybe in a way you've already grieved what you have to leave behind. Like you might be a little bit ahead of the game. Because the way that these cups are arranged, the 3 and the 5, the 3 is celebration, the 5 is grief. And so you might know just inherently you're going to have to leave some things behind. And maybe potentially in a big way that people won't understand. And it could look like sabotage. It could look like self-sabotage from the outside. And this is just my 2 cents. But if they're leading with judgment and not curiosity about why you're making this decision, and they also don't accept the why, that might be people that need to be left behind, you know? It just depends on your situation. But let's see for the left. I want to see what's causing this internal stir. Like, what is waking up this complex within the ordinary world? Like, what was the trigger? 5 of Pentacles in reverse. Getting tired of the grind, never being able to get ahead. It could even be a health thing as well, you know, Pentacles, the material, the body. If you, I had this issue before. I was getting like mocked, like made fun of by a partner for the way that I was eating. I was trying to improve my health. And if I ate something healthy, it was gross. And if I ate something unhealthy, it was, do you need to eat that much? Like that kind of nonsense. You just cannot win. So you could be in one of those situations that you're just like, man, no matter what I do, they're just going to keep treating me like garbage. And it's time to go because I'm tired of just living this way. And I could see certainly how that would express with an employer of you keep, clapping your cymbals and whatnot, but they keep moving the carrot out just a little bit too far to where you can't get it, to where you can't improve your situation. And finally, you're just like, whatever, I don't care that the schedule is stable and what have you, like whatever fringe benefits they use to convince you that you don't need a salary that meets the cost of living. It just, you've had it. Let's get a little more detail. There are a couple of movies that just came to mind. It was Office Space and Fight Club. Like both of those have that, like, I'm fed up, I've had it, no more. And there are certainly some questionable choices, so I'm not advocating for you to go start making soap, as it were. Justice in reverse. And there's little mice on this one. That's making me think of Who Moved My Cheese. Hammond and Han. A big decision to leave the ordinary world. Like, the hero's journey is no joke. Because if someone is really earnestly going on that path, engaging in the hero's journey, they don't come out at the end with clean armor. It's a tough road, but if you're being put in situations where you're being treated unfairly, where you're not getting paid what you are worth, what you deserve, what you were promised, if you have a partner that is treating you like crap behind closed doors and is lovely in front of people, like, that could be where this desire to leave is coming from. And it's interesting, like, when you open up to people in your life about what's going on, you're thinking about leaving a relationship, a job, or whatnot, it's kind of amazing to me to see how many people will, like, make excuses for stuff to kind of, like, try to keep you in place. I don't know if it's like an unconscious thing or they're unwilling to look at their own behavior, that it might mirror something in this situation. But I can't even use the phrase like well-meaning, because helping you tolerate an intolerable situation, that's not helping. That's just kicking the can down the road. Let's get another card here. And to go further into that Who Moved My Cheese, another portion of this that either might be self-sabotage, might look like self-sabotage, I'm going with that second one really, but might look like self-sabotage, is that you might be leaving and going in an entirely different direction. You know, how many people get divorced midlife and then come out of the closet, you know? And if they don't have a supportive family, that could be sabotage in a way, like social sabotage. But a social sabotage that they kind of know that they need to engage in if they're going to find their happiness. We've got the Six of Pentacles here, and this is very cute. This almost gives me like Six of Cups vibes, because the little kittens and just grooming. But equal give and take. That could be what you're seeking. Not getting that currently in this situation, like moving the carrot out like further and further. And of course, you know, finding a balanced and harmonious relationship. Significant departure from a lot of what many of us have experienced. Let's get one of these here. Oop. Looks like we got a couple. Choice in reverse. Mars in Libra. And resourcefulness. Sun in Cancer. And both in reverse, or retrograde, you can think of for this deck. You might feel trapped in this, like you don't have a choice. And we've got the scales again here. So a lot of Libra themes, and that could also be timing. This could be going on right now. And also consider where Libra falls in your chart. So like in my case, Black Moon Lilith is my Libra placement. And so that has heavy, heavy themes in interpersonal relationships, just, you know, in accordance with her myth and so forth. But you can read it in those contexts, in that like celestial context, archetypal context. But you might feel tapped out by this situation. Like, to go back to the example I was talking about with that partner that gave me a hard time about no matter what I was eating, that ultimately was a domestic violence situation. And when I needed to leave, I didn't have the funds to do so. And now I've heard of like programs that can help you with your pets and whatnot, but there wasn't a place for me to escape to that I could bring my pets with me. And there was no way I was going to leave them alone with him, because they were not safe. None of us were safe in there. And like the way that is handled by some people in my family, they just don't view pets in the same way that I do. I see them as dependents, that they have no choice, because they don't. I have to make the choice for them, and I can't just leave them there, you know? And I was thankfully able to protect myself and us. And I know that's not true for everyone. It's a really difficult situation to go through. But if you're having to navigate something that difficult, and on the other hand, you have people in your family who would like shame you for your process, that would like, you know, abandon them and save yourself and whatnot. No. you might be deliberately leaving out context from like the public eye, and that could be where the self-sabotage is coming in. Like, why aren't you happy with this ordinary world, or why are you making all these sudden changes when really in the background you've been planning your escape for a long time. So on the right here, just want to see if we can elaborate on, I want to say, the transition from the ordinary world to the call of adventure. Call to adventure. Oh. Eight of Swords in reverse. And that is my gaslighting card. And this is an interesting depiction because usually the subject who is bound could easily escape. But it doesn't look like that in this situation. These almost look like, I mean, fabric, like towels or something, but their glasses are on the ground. And the swords are like too low for them to kind of wriggle against it. But this is something you want to free yourself from. And that could be what's waking up this complex that's getting that spark going and kind of getting that psychic energy to churn. And you could be acting out of character, even to yourself. And it's not, really want to like put a grain of salt, act with caution, work with a therapist, of course. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Because breaking those patterns, maybe a pattern of meekness, a pattern like what gaslighting does to you long term, and breaking free of just false perceptions of, yes, this person in my life is supposed to love me, is supposed to not treat me in terrible ways, and yet they do. And that's not real love. That might be a repeating pattern from childhood, that something was made to seem normal, quote unquote, and it's not. It's not, I don't like that word, but like, it's not healthy. Like, the pattern that you were exposed to that created that like unconscious material is not a healthy pattern. And in order to break that, to break out of that mold, you got to do things differently. Like, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And I do want to, encourage caution if you are not acting yourself and so forth. Really encourage working with a therapist. But there are times in my life where the only move was like a surprise, let all my rage out all at once, tap that unconscious well. And it was destructive. It was incredibly destructive. Not proud of everything I've ever done, every way I've treated or spoken to another person. And I had to break free. I was so deeply entrenched in just subconscious chains of thinking like neglectful behavior was the norm. It was the way, like, people screaming at each other all the time, through the walls, whatnot, was what a home life was supposed to be like, just total constant emotional chaos. We've got the Five of Wands in reverse. Sick of conflict? Maybe you are either through multiple scenarios or multiple times within a scenario, maybe both, repeatedly having the same fights, the same conflicts. And you could just be getting told, like, yeah, sure, I'll change, I'm sorry, blah, 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 and then nothing changes. And so now the blindfold is coming off of, like, oh, this is just going to keep me in lack, whatever that aspect of lack is, whether it's love, health, finances. And your health can be affected by so much. If your financial needs aren't being met, if your need for connection, genuine connection, isn't being met. And how do I put this? I've gone through a 5-year-long dark night of the soul. And a big component of that was certain interpersonal relationships that are not going to be coming forward with me into whatever is next. Kind of lost my train of thought there. Maybe it'll come back. That really bothers me. I feel like that was important. Maybe there's something there in the fog that my brain is trying to keep from me, but maybe another card will jog my memory. Yeah, there's just some relationships that can't come forward with me. And that's a really difficult process to go through. And the liminal space is really hard when you are moving from the old into the new, especially later in life when it's harder to make friendships. It's harder to just like congregate with people without expectation, things like that. But I feel no connection is better than unhealthy connection. And that's a point I was trying to get at when my thought train went into the fog. Because people talk a lot about isolation and whatnot. And if you are someone like me who's dealing with complex trauma, complex PTSD, so on and so forth, it's like a nervous system reset to just get away from everyone, because in my case, people are a trigger just because of what I've experienced at the hands and minds of other people. And I don't fit into that like conventional, like, isolation is bad. I'm like, my nervous system has been on fire my entire life. I need everybody to leave me alone for a while. We've got the Six of Swords in reverse. So that's staying in place. So something about this situation, it's like you can't bust out of your chrysalis and let your wings unfurl. It's just cycle after cycle after cycle. And that very well could be unconscious patterning. I know when it comes to complexes, there's like word association and whatnot to kind of start to dissect those. But I feel like what I've done around trauma, like the therapies and the EMDR therapist, those have a way of getting down to the roots, just not in those words, maybe is what I'm getting at. Like, I kind of have that experience of following the trail of the complex just without the vocabulary. And we've got assertion, Sun in Aries in reverse. Another. So that could be the complex you're struggling with. How, like, I would experience that is like a fawn response. There's something about this situation that's taking away your personal power. Because Aries is, you know, the first house, like identity, really fiery, get-ish done energy. The Emperor. And the Emperor doesn't take crap from anybody. But this could have chipped away at you for so long that it's almost like taken your will. So we've got birth, inspiration, that's in reverse, and control. So Jupiter in Capricorn, Mercury in Pisces, and Venus in Cancer. A new you coming forward, or like a more integrated you. I still am wrapping my mind around the splinter psyche, splinter personalities. Well, I guess personality might not be the right word, but who was it? It was Persephone's sister. She's another tarot reader. It's on YouTube and Instagram. She had said complexes are aspects of your personality that operate independently of your ego self. So I feel like this is almost like that complex, I don't know, pulling. The complex of the saboteur is pulling a part of you forward that just refuses to be suppressed anymore. And that's this birth energy. And it might be because you feel like you're losing your inspiration. You feel like you're losing your spark. You know, that was the star in reverse. And now you're in control, not the complex. But you've made it to a point of individuation where you're kind of comfortable blowing ish up, you know, and walking away and not looking behind you as you walk away dramatically. It's just, you know, you're ready for the new thing. And of course I am not advocating for just walk away from your responsibilities without a plan, without another job lined up, anything like that. But this might be the acceptance piece of, I gotta go. I don't know where I'm going, but I can't stay here. This is untenable now. You know, people talk about spiritual awakenings and whatnot, and that is an extremely jarring experience. kind of like being run over by a tractor. If I had to compare it to anything, you are not the same after it. You are a much more integrated self. And man, the antsy feeling you get when you're almost waiting for the call to adventure. Like, where are you? Call me. I'm right here. But let's see what's upcoming. What do we need to look for next? Like, to know this call is coming. Any kind of omen? Anything? The Chariot. Oh, I'm so frustrated by this. Because this is like that... You know when you get feedback at work and they're just like, keep doing what you're doing? That's what this feels like. But I do like the kitties on here, the winged kitties. It's giving Freya. But just stay put. The call hasn't come in yet. Ten of Cups in reverse. That's interesting. Because you got the ten of Pentacles upright, but now the Ten of Cups in reverse. Oh. You might have... I know it's like out of order for the way that... What is it? I don't have my stages right in front of me, but a threshold guardian. Someone trying to convince you that this is you sabotaging and you don't know what you want, you don't know what's best for yourself. Someone like infantilizing you is what I'm getting. But trying to keep you in place, whether or not they earnestly believe what that their advice is good and they mean well and whatnot, even though it's not what you want and it's not what makes you happy. So a little bit of a conflict there. But that could also be a projection from them in this is not something they were able to accomplish in their life. They weren't able to go their own way or break free of the 9-to-5 hamster wheel, or didn't have the ability or gusto? Is that the word I'm looking for? But to maybe bravado, to leave their like long-term relationship, like their marriage, that they weren't willing to admit to themselves that they were just unhappy, and staying for the kids is just an excuse that hurts the kids and hurts everybody involved, really, because if you're unhappy, the kids are going to feel that. But we've got the Three of Wands and the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, so that is much faster than what the Knight of Pentacles would normally be, because normally that's the slowest knight in the deck. And Three of Wands, that's a journey. It's go. Just go. I don't know what you're going towards, but go. If you know that you are unhappy and you have a plan, you have a way out, like this is definitely a sleep on it decision. Really think about, if you want to leave the ordinary world, what are the implications of that? What does that mean for your life? But once you've landed on that decision that this is right for me, go. Answer the call. And we've got extremism. Mercury in Scorpio, reversed. So this is not extreme. This is not impulsivity on your part. And it's okay if it looks like that to other people. They can perceive it any way they want to. Perception is not reality. It might feel like more people in your life have authority over you than they really do, but that could just be from their role that they played in your life, or play, whether it's past, present, future, whatever. But like, family can be disappointed, whatever. That's I mean, unless you really do have some sort of family image or something, like most of us plebs down here don't. And people get real up in their ego about how important they are not. And I'm not saying like people don't matter and whatnot, but just the overinflated ego of like, just dude, give it a rest. I've got one life to live, and I don't want to spend it, from hopping from hamster wheel to hamster wheel in the corporate hamster race. Can you tell I'm a Pisces? Like, I just want to paint by the sea and eat fruit and cheese with Pedro Pascal. Dream, right? And see, he could afford something nice, much nicer than I can. Because I gotta make the art, which means I don't make money. But this is the Rumi deck, which is another deck that I felt was very Piscean. And I have definitely not used this enough. It's a very pretty deck. I'm going to take the bottom one from that little plop. Oh, we're getting two. Layla and Aris. Very different vibes in these cards. And I'll definitely read from the book for these. But these seem like two different individuals. Someone like despondent in despair with some sort of like angelic or celestial being. And then this is giving me the star card, because like the galaxy and that pose that she's doing, like becoming one with everything. So 34. Layla. Put aside your clever schemes, O lover, be mindless, become mad. Dive into the heart of the flame, become fearless, be like a moth. Turn away from the self and tear down the house, then come and dwell in the house of love. Be a lover, live with lovers. Clean your chest from all hostility, wash it 7 times, then fill it with the wine of love. Be a chalice for love, be a chalice. You must be all love to be worthy of the beloved. When going to the gathering of drunks, be a drunk, become drunk. Your thought takes a course, dragging you in its wake. Move beyond thought. Let your heart lead, be the leader. When the grace of love is revealed, be a mirror to reflect it. When the beloved's hair is loosened, brush it like a comb. Be a comb. Rumi. That's really nice. And that's really giving me the radical acceptance that we talked about at the beginning, because like he was saying, at the gathering of drunks, become a drunk. Just be one with the nature of things. And feel. It's very, very Piscean. Letting your heart lead. Just seeing things for as they are, not as you expect them to be. Arise. Wings of hope languish from lack of use. When wings dissipate and weaken, life begins to lose its value. Every cell in your body is created to rise to challenges. Your life is meant to confront everything that holds you captive. Don't sit at the bottom of the well, not caring about salvation. Listen to the voice within calling to you. Reach for eminence beyond your own maturity. Rumi. That's giving me the same, like, just go into the unknown. Very pretty cards. And that, I think, is just called the Rumi Oracle. Yeah, Elena Fairchild. But just with an open heart, go forward. And what a vibe for Pisces. To lead with the heart and just, it's like the Fool card. Taking that leap of faith. And we've got Amen. Hailstorm. So there might be a deeper theme here. It depends on what has been going on in your life. But if you've gone through a dark night of soul, I know that's an experience where many of us return to our faith or find faith. And I mean, Amen by Hailstorm. I think there is a deeper calling. And even if you are not a believer, if you're just engaging in things from a secular lens, it's that individuation journey, setting out on the hero's journey with faith in your heart, knowing that even though it doesn't make sense from the outside, you know you're headed the right direction. So, overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.